So for the equation of the circle, here's what they say, the equation of the circle written in center radius form. So we say this is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, just like last year when we had a vertex form of a parabola, it was y is equal to a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. All right, they use the same variables or the same constants to identify the center and to identify the vertex. If you recall, the vertex over here was hk. So the center over here is probably going to be what? That is correct, hk. All right, the center is identified as hk, and r is probably the what? That is correct. All right. All right, and again, that's called standard form sometimes, all right, where if you write it in standard form, it allows you to see what the center and the radius. All right, the other general form would be something like this: ax squared plus ay squared plus bx plus cy plus d equals 0. Now notice in front of the x squared and the y squared is the same constant. All right, the only way it can be a circle is if the x squared and y squared term are equal. All right. So again, very, very simple process. All right, I will be giving it to you in this format, and you have to move it into this format. All right. We hope it's written in this format because that's just easy. All right. So, for example, we'll go down and do the odds. Number one, can anybody tell me what the center is? Now remember, you should get in the habit. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. You might as well write that a couple 10 or 20 times, and then eventually you'll be able to see it. So the h is what's after the x. What is after the x? I'm listening. Good. 0. What's after the y? Very good. 0. All right. So the center is 0, 0. And what's the radius? 7. The radius is in fact 7. Why do we say it's 7? Because r squared equals 49. Really and truly that easy. All right, so let's see if you're getting the hang of this. For number 3, what's the center? Say it again. Now, what I want to show you is look up here, the way I wrote it. Look at this right here. And look at this right here. And look at this right here. And this right here. They are what? They're opposites of each other. Is everybody with me on that? All right. So that's the one thing that kind of throws kids off. But once you recognize that, it just becomes the center is what? Yeah, -2, 3. And then, of course, we just say the radius is equal to what? Square root of 183. All right. Anybody have any questions with that? I told you, very easy. So number 5, we would say the center again is what? -10, -9, and the radius, of course, would equal 6. Very simple. Anybody still confused? All right, so just to make sure, number 7, the center. 0, -2, and the radius is equal to, anybody? Radius 11. Very, very simple. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a problem because the rest of them now are not in the right format. So we need to convert it from this, I wouldn't even call general form. It's all out of order. So let's put it in the correct order. We want to group the x's together. We want to group the y's together, and we want to move the constant to the other side. What in the world does that mean? All right, so I'm going to write x squared first. Then I'm going to put plus 26x. I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to put plus y squared plus 28y. I'm going to leave a space and then put equals -364. Now, at this stage of the game, I always tell kids, I think you should be able to move things around in your head rather easily. Does anybody have any questions with how I move things around? I group the x's together, group the y's together. I move the constant over. So just to make sure you're with me, the 364 I moved over here, so that became what? Negative. The -26x I had to bring over here with this x, so that became what? Positive. All right, now last year at the end of the year, we were talking about completing a square. All right, we need to complete the square on this. Does you remember that little formula? So the formula was b over 2 squared. All right, b over 2 squared. Now, what in fact is the b value? Yeah, the b is the 26. All right, so what's half of 26? What's 13 squared? So you're adding 169. Now, the reason why you're adding 169, because that makes this a perfect square. All right, that makes that a perfect square. So if I add 169 on the left, I must do what? Add it to the right. Now I'm going to complete the square over here. So what am I adding? Does everybody agree with you're adding 196? Now, how do I add? How did I get to that? We just take 28, we divide it by 2, and we square it. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 14 squared is 196. All right. So I'm adding 169, and I'm adding 196. All right. Now, when I do all that, that looks to me like that now will simplify. All right. I'm going to simplify this over here, and I'm going to factor these two. Now, those always factor to whatever the half was. So what was half of 26? So this factors to x plus 13 squared. X plus 13 squared. The y's will factor to what? Y plus 14 squared. And if I add 364, 169, and 196, I think that's a what? I think it's 1. All right, now listen, again, I understand you forgot completing the square. I totally understand that. But again, I'm trying to make sure what is critical is this from here to here. So I understand that's the factoring part of that. Can everybody look at x plus 13 squared and say that's x squared plus 26x plus 190 or 169? Same thing with the y squared plus 28y plus 196. Most kids cannot factor those two things. All right, we should be experts at factoring. All right. So now you just look at it now and tell me that the center is what? Center is -13, -14. And of course, the radius is what? What is the radius? Or we'll just call it what, Sebastian? 1. Square root of 1 today is 1, Sebastian. Anybody have any issues with that? Anybody have any issues? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do number 11 together. All right. And then once we do 11, I feel pretty good about you converting from general form to a standard form. Standard form allows you to find the center and the radius. So let's group everything together. All right. So I don't like any negatives, so I'm just going to move that over. So anybody write down x squared minus 6x. We then leave a space to complete the square. I move my y squared over. And I move my negative 32y over. And then that equals negative 264. Anybody have any problems with that? Anybody have any issues? Nobody? All right, so now your job right now is determine, do I understand how to complete the square? So when I complete the square, what am I filling in right here? Anybody else? Positive 9. When you square a negative, you still get a positive. All right. You're adding 9. Adding 9. Now I need to complete the square over here. Half and square. What is that? Positive 256. Positive 256. So now it factors into whatever the half was. What was the half? Come on now, I'm factoring this piece right here. Come on. I want the equation, guys. X minus 3 squared plus
minus 16
equals anybody else get 1? Okay, so again, what's my center? 3 comma 16, and my radius is equal to what? 1. The radius is equal to 1. All right. So again, if you want to make notes, remember completing the square is b divided by 2 squared. That's what you do when you want to complete the square. And then I always tell kids it always factors to whatever the half was. If you remember that, it's really simple, really, really simple. All right, so now we're just going to graph a couple of these real quick. All right, so somebody tell me what the center is here. Negative 1, 2. So everybody go to negative 1, then they go to 2. Plot the point. That's the center. Now, what's the radius? 3, right? So from this point right here, to me, I always tell kids, go to the left 3, go to the right 3, go down 3, and go up 3. And that's the outline of your circle. And then you just sketch the circle to the best of your ability. Some of you have lots to work on. Again, if you want, you can write down the center is negative 1, 2, and the radius is 3. Anybody have any issues with that? Super easy. All right, let's knock out 15. Again, somebody tell me what the center is here. For 15? What is it?
-1, -2.
Negative 1, negative 2 is in fact the center, and the radius is what?
5.
Right, so from the center, you just go to the right 5. To the left, 5. Up 5. And down 5. And then from there, draw your circle. All right, anybody have any issues? Anybody have any issues? All right, let's continue on. 17. All right, 17 should be easy. Let's just do one more. Again, what's the center? -3, -2. And our radius is what? 3. And then draw your circle. Now, let's just say they give us something obnoxious like 18. All right. So here, again, don't make a big issue of it. The center is going to be what?
-5.
Yeah, but in this case, we might as well just say -2.5. And then we can type it in our calculator if you don't know the square root of 14, which is like 3 point, what is that, 8? 3.741. And then you're going to graph -2.5. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's just an approximation. And then 3.7. And then your radius is 3. All right, so from there, you're just going up 3, down 3, left and right 3. All right, generally, the only thing that kids need help with is completing the square. All right, that's kind of easy right there. That's not a big deal. But generally, these are the ones that we need the most help with. All right, so here we go. Back to number 1. All right, write it in standard form. All right, write this in standard form. So let's start with number 1. Let's see how you're doing. All right, I'm going to put it on pause and let's see how you're doing. Okay, so I have here, the center is what? -4, comma 1. And the radius is what? Someone said radical 8. Someone said the radius is 7. Anybody else?
Radical 80, which
Oh.
is 9.
Radical 81. Well, the square root of 81 again would be 9. Anybody else get the something different? What did you get? Thanks. All right, so let's take a look. We either know it's 7 or it's 9. So here we go. So again, what we're doing is lining things up properly. So I have x squared plus 8x. We leave a space. Moving the y squared over. Y squared minus 2y. We leave a space. Equals 64. Completing the square, half of 8 is what? Squared. So we're adding 16. Half and square, what do we got? Plus 1. So I have to add 1. All right. So now this becomes always factors to whatever the half was, x plus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals, what does that all that add up to? 81. So my center, of course, is -4, +1. And I have a radius that's equal to what? Radius that is equal to 9. Yes. I understand what you're thinking about from last year. When we put it in vertex form, we did the opposites, but that was because they were on the same side of the equation. No, the 16 is on the left side. And then if you add something to the right side, it has to be the same thing. I know exactly what you're thinking of. All right. Last year, when you completed the square, we had to do plus and then we did minus. All right. So that was pretty good. All right. So let's everybody knock out 3. And if you can do number 3, then I feel like you are in good shape. All right. So let me pause real quick. Let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and see what you're doing now. Again, it is a process, guys. It's just not a hard process. All right, completing the square. So here we go, x squared plus 14x, we leave a space, plus y squared minus 12y, we leave a space, equals, move the 4. Half and square, what's half and square? Plus 49. Plus 49, half and square again, plus 36, plus 36. Always factors to whatever the half was. What's the half? X plus 7 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals, what is that? 81. So my center is, help me, center, -7, 6, and my radius is 9. Everybody happy with that? Okay, let's just make sure, sorry. Let's go ahead and knock out number 5. All right, let's knock out number 5. Do me a favor, you can kind of cross out 9 and 10. I don't want to worry about the translations. Right. Yeah, I see some of you guys just flying through it. I told you, it's very simple. Very simple. All right, Court, what did you get?
I got the center is -1, 5.
Anybody else get that? So again, just to make sure I heard you right, the center is -1, 5. And the radius you said was 9. Anybody need some help with that? All right, now the last part of it, the last part honestly is to go from the center radius back into the equation. All right, which is obviously very simple. So for question number 7, if we put that in standard form, that would just be parentheses, what? X plus 11 squared equals what? Come on, that's simple. Equals 16. Anybody have any questions with that? All right, so cross out again, like I said, 9 and 10. I'm not really a big fan of the translations right now. That's generally when you take algebra 2. All right, so let's take a look at number 11. Now we have to find the center of the circle. Somebody find it. What is the center of this circle? Somebody said 0.3. Does that look right? That looks like kind of like the center, correct? Now be careful, the radius is also going to be what now? Yeah, you got to be careful though. It's kind of a silly problem. The radius isn't 6, it's what?
Oh.
Yeah, it's just a bad. Right, they're counting by twos, I guess, just so they could blow it up so you could see it. But the radius is in fact 3. So then the equation would be what? Come on, the equation would be what?
X plus 0.
X squared, right? X squared plus what? Say it again.
Minus 3 squared.
I'm not sure it's X.
Y minus
Y minus 3 squared equals what?
9.
9. That's it. Does everybody agree with that? Anybody have any questions? 13, 15, 16. Okay, so I'll do those tomorrow. So what I want you to do now is focus on knocking out the evens. All right, do the evens for practice. All right.
You go past this page, so I don't know.
No, I'll do with you tomorrow this page. Right.
So our last problem, say you're a cheater. Me? Yeah. Wow. Not you. Hey. No.